Hey, what is up, everybody? This is Stevie Breach coming to you here today. I just got home from work. I ended up having to stay just a little bit later. It wasn't because we had extra work to do. It was honestly because I didn't know what time it was. I didn't leave work till it was about 2:22, 22 minutes late. So probably one day next week I'll have to explain 22 minutes of overtime and have to make up some sort of conundrum that came into at work. But today was like a really rocky day at work, honestly. How I got the news about Hulk Hogan honestly was like I said earlier, we had a supervisor come into work today, so I put my phone into my desk so I wouldn't have any sort of like distractions when he was there, and be like, every time I look at Steve, he's like looking at his phone over there. I had just got the Justin Fields news where basically he was getting carted out of Jets practice, and I was making jokes to some Jets fans about how their franchise was cursed. And I put my phone into my locker, and at one point, honestly, I heard it ringing, and I looked at it in my drawer. I opened it up, and I saw that it was Mike, and I was kind of debating whether if I wanted to answer it or not. And I was thinking, like, Mike doesn't call me a lot. So let me just, I'll just grab it really fast in case it's like something big. I knew that there was a lot of like wrestling figures, being released today at San Diego Comic-Con. So I was thinking maybe like he saw some like figure that got put up that he wanted me to know about. I know I have been texting him about a lot of CM Punk ones as they come out to make sure that he sees them. And I didn't get it in time. He had hung up by the time I picked up, but about 20 minutes passed. I wasn't really thinking about it, but my phone rang again, and it was Mike. So this time I picked it up right away, and he told me the news. He didn't put it to me short and sweet. He made sure that like I was like sitting down. Um, it reminded me a lot um, of about when the Ultimate Warrior died, and uh, I called Miguel. It was after WrestleMania 30. I knew that he was traveling home and had not arrived home yet. I know that Miguel is a guy that doesn't really like look at his phone and drive. He's not that kind of a guy. He's not like me, like flying loose off of the edge. Um, so I knew he didn't really know yet, and if he didn't know, I wanted to tell him. I didn't want him to find out some like bad way, so I had to call him and tell him. He just couldn't believe it. I mean, we had just saw Warrior, go into the Hall of Fame. Then we saw him on Monday Night Raw, and we travel home, and Miguel didn't even make it home, and he passed away. So Mike told me about Hogan, and I didn't know. He was trying to make sure that I was like sitting down. It didn't rock me. I mean, like I got kids. I've got parents. I've got grandparents. I mean, when my grandma passed away, that was like a really rocky deal. that really wasn't even that long ago. Then now that I really think about it, but uh, it was like, wow. And then he, tied in the Barstool thing, saying that basically they told Brandon Walker when he was on Mostly Sports, and we saw it live. Uh, it was, yeah, it just sucked. I mean, there's no other way to put it. I told them that I wasn't going to cry and that I was going to be all right. And I looked forward to taking my lunch, and I planned on doing like a little bit of a walk and talk, basically, talking about like, just what I felt like. It ended up being the video that I made. I just went out and I sat in my car instead of like walking. So like in the case like somebody like came around me as I was talking about Hulk Hogan, I didn't feel weird and have to like stop the video. Normally when I'm doing my walk and I know that I'm making a video about like Raw, I know that I make it when I kind of like go behind the store that's across the street, and I'm walking behind the store because normally there's nobody out there. And I won't come across somebody just like in the parking lot doing something or something like that. But I can tell you that, like I said in the early part of the video, like I'm not gonna cry, But like as I talked about, like Hulk Hogan, like I got sad. Like that's the god honest thing to put it. I mean, like Hulk Hogan, he was not my dad, but I mean, like as a part of like heroes that you have in your life, people that you look up to that aren't like family or friends or things like that. Like Hulk Hogan, quite possibly, was one of the biggest influences that I ever had in my life. I mean, like I called him a GI Joe because I was thinking of like GI Joe the cartoon or the GI Joe action figures back in the day. Um, Close to me, I have this like Hulk Hogan. I just recently got this. I made an unboxing video for Jim Nye's Bring Back the YWC Day because I bought it and it sat in the box and I just needed a reason to open it. And I was trying to flood my timeline with videos to try and bring people back to YouTube. Um, Making wrestling videos. But I mean, like to me, like Hulk Hogan, like he was what an action figure was supposed to be, but he was in reality, he was in real life. I don't know if it wasn't for Hulk Hogan, if wrestling would have been as big as a boom. I mean, Vince McMahon was a big part of WWF's boom, but he needed a star to do his work in the ring. A lot of people say that like Ted DiBiase's character would have been if Vince McMahon could wrestle. And if he really could get into the ring, that's the way that Vince would be, I guess. But Vince, I mean, we know now from the Cody Rhodes story that if he wanted Dusty Rhodes, he could have had Dusty Rhodes. He had superstar Billy Graham, and then people say that like Hogan just stole superstar Billy Graham's act. Um, we don't really know if he would have. I think maybe he could have created like a boom period, but how would you have finished? Because like superstar Billy Graham tried to get that last run in WWF when he came back for Survivor Series. That's it for Survivor Series 1987 when he was going to be on Hogan's team, and they ended up having to take him off the team, and he ended up being replaced because he couldn't finish. And Hogan, I mean, even though we make jokes about like AJ Styles today is how old though Hulk Hogan was when he started the NWO or something like that. Like the guys just look a lot younger today, whether if it's like through skincare or not tanning or it could be a whole bunch of a lot of stuff. But I mean, like the guys just looked older back in the day. But like Hogan's career, surpassed that Survivor Series, and Superstar Billy Graham was like kind of like put it like into retirement. And who would have known he would have got that last run in WCW when Hogan left after the Yokozuna match? King of the Ring is when most people think he left, but I think he actually did some house shows. I think Hogan's last match in the WWF was actually like over in Spain or something like that, where he was like going over and getting these big like European gates. And Vince was making sure that he was taken care of. And it was like a real kind of like not handshake deal, but it was like an agreement between Vince and Hogan that he was done and he was going to go off and he was going to make, Suburban Commando. He was going to make Mr. Nanny. He was going to like do, um, stuff like that. And, he ended up being able to talked into going to WCW, and WCW is when he had his run. Being Hulk Hogan with the red and yellow, figuring out that people were kind of tired of that act, and he started turning bad. The NWO fled from there. I've always thought that Hogan did the work. Hogan had to wrestle those main events, but what made Hogan cool was Hall and Nash on the outside. Hall and Nash was his Tully and Arn of Ric Flair's Four Horsemen. You fought Hogan at the Starcade or Great American Bash or whatever it is in the main events, but Hall and Nash, while they were also having to fight the Harlem Heat at the pay-per-view, they were making sure that like whoever was fighting Hogan at the pay-per-view weren't coming in 100%. and they were putting in the work, and they said it was for the organization, the whole NWO deal. Um, but you know, I think that Hogan is quite possibly. I think that he is responsible for the boom of the '80s, and then also the boom of the '90s. Yeah, like Stone Cold Steve Austin and The Rock. They put in the work and they got over. But I don't think that if it was for WCW's NWO boom, which they then created by rolling it over to having the WCW Nitro parties. I just don't think that we would be here today, in the 2000s. I don't think that wrestling would have died. I don't think that the WCW, I'm still surprised that WCW went out of business. But I mean, like, I just don't believe, um, I don't know. Wrestling probably would have still rolled on, but it wouldn't be as big as it was. There wouldn't be a place for the John Cena's, the Rocks, or the Roman Reigns to be there. I think that it would be on a much, much smaller stage. We wouldn't be watching WWE on Netflix. It's just there's a lot that I pat the guy on the back for. I don't know how to do this. That's the God's honest truth. I wish I like doing these things with my buddy Jeremy. Oh, okay, awesome. You just answered my question, Triple H guy. Steven, I didn't know that I didn't know if people were commenting, so I didn't know if they were going to pop up. I don't know how to make them pop up on the screen. I think that's cool when I watch other people's streams. But I appreciate you being here. Um, I don't know. I can honestly tell you that the outpouring for Hulk Hogan today was a lot bigger and a lot more than I thought it was going to be. Um, I don't want to talk about this at all, but I'm going to touch on it for just a minute, and I'm trying to get away from it as fast as I can. In this world, it is a very political world of people wanting people to know where they stand, and they pretty much are against almost anything on the other side. I don't think that they realize that, like, politics in this world, I think of a lot like professional wrestling. The people that will go on the Congress floor and they will fight tooth and nail for a certain thing, those people are friends when it's all over. I mean, when the lights go down and they leave the building, those people hang out with each other. They go to dinner with each other. They vacation with each other. It doesn't matter if they're Republican or Democrat. They're just playing a role. And that's my God honest truth opinion about what goes on out there. I mean, they might talk politics a little bit, but I'm sure once they clock out, I mean, we're talking about it a lot more than they are. But Hogan did what he did because he believed in it. I thought that honestly, what he did at the convention made him look like a clown. I thought that it made Kid Rock that night look like he had no fans, playing out there for all those like old geezers dancing for him with no rhythm. Um, I don't know. I mean, if he was gonna play for the convention, it would have been cooler if he had like an actual concert with his fans, and they would have like simulcasted it in or something like that. That to me, honestly, would have made it look cool. People that actually want to be listening to Kid Rock rather than just like somebody telling you like, "Hey, go out there and dance for for Kid Rock and make us look cool," because it didn't make them look cool, honestly, in the long run. But I thought that people wouldn't want to say, rest in peace, Hulk Hogan. Remember everything that they did for him just because of how they believe or how they vote or anything like that. But one of the things wrestling wise that made me, be surprised was Undertaker. I don't listen to Undertaker's podcast. I've never listened to a whole episode. God's honest truth, I don't even know the name, but I see the clips when they pop up on like Twitter or like the YouTube shorts and stuff like that. People will clip them, and stuff will get out there. And I remember an episode where Hogan was naming his Mount Rushmore, and he wanted to put Hogan on there, and it was almost like he didn't want to say Hulk Hogan's name. Because of that, you have to like go back to Survivor Series 1991. Undertaker's told the story 1,000 times, um, where Hogan went to Undertaker and said that he had a bad neck. And Undertaker was like, "Yeah, I've done this tombstone a million times. I'll take care of you. There's no way in the world I'm going to put your neck into the mat." And the second that he did it, Hogan was yelling and he had to get stretchered to the back. And it wasn't just because of the fans and they were putting on a show. He was actually putting on a show for Vince McMahon that I think Hogan wanted to be on top. I think that Hogan knew Tuesday in Texas was going to happen. I think that he knew he was going to get his belt back, and he wanted to keep the opportunity of the Undertaker being on top out of Vince's mind, thinking that like he hurt me, he's going to hurt somebody else. It doesn't matter who you put him up against. He was just running Undertaker's name down in the mud for Vince McMahon because he's Hogan and he wants to protect his spot. I mean, you break it down, almost anybody that's been on top, there's a story of them being negative. I mean, like John Cena is the one guy that, we've heard from the Chris Jericho podcast when he had Edge on. They were talking John Cena out of SummerSlam 2010 versus the Nexus, beating those guys, being like, that's what the people want to see, is they want to build up the story of how you're going to defeat these guys, not just you're going to beat them, because we've built up the SummerSlam. Now, what are we going to do at Survivor Series? What are we going to do at TLC? It's not, this story is not ending today just because John Cena and his team of misfits. I mean, when you look at it, the guy had Great Khali on his team. He had a retired Hall of Famer, Bret the Hitman Hart, who was coming back to wrestling after, coming down with a stroke in 2002. John Cena losing that tag match is very understandable when you're looking at the rising stars of, Wade Barrett, Skip Sheffield, and I guess who was on that team? It was Ryback, Michael Tarver, Darren Young. What could have been? I mean, honestly, I think a lot of those guys' careers changed that night when they didn't win it. I mean, people did cool things. People always remember Justin Gabriel, this little flippy deal off of the top rope. But like, if they would have beat John Cena, and then they would have beat John Cena again, like everybody says the plan was, those guys probably would have been made. I mean, Wade Barrett at Survivor Series 2010 should have won the championship. God's honest truth, that would have put that group over of like, oh shoot, these guys are young and they're going to be doing this forever. And Cena wanted to win that night. It was Staples Center. It was SummerSlam. Even though Cena had been, on top for years, for some reason he didn't want to let it go that night. I don't know, but I mean, like Taker, had an outpouring of like pictures of like him and Hogan, saying that like Hogan put him over. I can't remember the tweet word for word, but I was honestly, I was surprised by that one. And you had like Bully Ray. Bully Ray went after somebody who posted a video of the EMTs taking Hulk Hogan out of his house. He was dead. Just delete this now. Like, why would you post that to the internet? Honestly, deep down, I know why somebody would post that to the internet. I don't know why that they think that would make them a friend that day or make them famous or whatever it is, because when's the next time you're going to get one of those videos? And that's what you're going to be known for. And how are you going to reproduce that one with the next one? So I was really surprised by that. I don't really know how to talk about the 2015 sex tape ordeal. I was trying to describe it to who I work with today and tell her that, like, when the sex tape came out, Hogan didn't want to bury the sex tape because it was a sex tape. I don't even think he cared about that getting out. It was discussion, on the tape that was leaked by the National Enquirer. The whole deal out of that, I mean, like, Mark Henry has talked about it. I think Mark Henry wanted to forgive Hulk Hogan. I think he wanted Hulk Hogan to apologize to him, and Mark wanted to help Hogan get on the road to putting it in the past, putting it behind him, and meaning what he said and coming out with a plan. I think that Mark Henry wanted to put him into the community, whether if it was like going to like colleges and talking to kids about what he said and why he said it and why it was bad, um, to put it behind him. And Hogan wanted no part of it. I remember being at work. I believe it was a Good Morning America interview that Hogan was doing, and Hogan was saying a lot of things, but he was not saying the words, "I'm sorry, I apologize." He wasn't trying to reach out to people. He was just trying to just say things, just make things go away. And I felt like that's when Hogan got brought back to WWF. I was not good of like a a negative person being like, "Hey, we can't do this." I felt bad that people were booing Hulk Hogan, but I understood completely why people were, and I think it's sad that when you play back Hogan's last night on Raw when he got booed so bad, is like that's like the legacy that he's like holding down. I've heard that Brooke has had kids. I don't think Nick has any kids. Nick's got some problems that he needs to figure out as of right now. Um, but Linda made that video a while ago saying that Brooke moved to Nashville. I think she's in charge of a restaurant now. But I'll get to you, Impact 88. Let me just finish this right here. But I appreciate you. Um, but Linda is saying that like she cut off both parents and she's just completely living her own life. There's gonna come a point when the kids want to know about Hulk Hogan and they figure out who Hulk Hogan is. I apologize. They're gonna want to know who Terry Bollea is, and that's gonna lead to who Hulk Hogan is. And that is a thing that they're gonna come across and like wonder why he's coming out there to try and sell some beer and he's just getting booed. And like when it really comes down to it, Hogan is the guy who built that place. You can say what you want to about Vince McMahon. I know I'm kind of like going back against what I said, or I'm building that point earlier, but like Hulk Hogan was WrestleMania 1 through 8. Yeah, when WrestleMania 9 happened, but like I don't think he was really the plan. I don't think anybody who bought a ticket to go to WrestleMania 9 went for Hulk Hogan. I think that Hogan's window had closed and he politicked his way into winning the championship that night. But WrestleMania 10, WCW or not, Hulk Hogan was not talked about. I think that they should have realized that Rumble 92, the door was shut. When Sid dumped out Hulk Hogan, the people went bananas, not because they love Sid, because they were getting something different. If you like pour a bowl of Fruit Loops every day for 9 years, one day you're gonna be looking and be like, well, I wonder what this Golden Grams taste like. Fruit Loops ain't bad, but what would it be like if we had something different? Impact 88 put a comment down there in the bottom. I really wish I knew how to put them on the screen. I think that's really cool, and I see a lot of other people do that. But um, what was my favorite Hulk Hogan moment? Yesterday, I did a stream with Sal and my buddy Jeremy, and we were talking about top 5 wrestling matches that I ever saw live. And my top 5 wrestling matches, I didn't have any Hulk Hogan matches in there. I saw Hulk wrestle. Um, I think more than others. I saw Hulk wrestle in like house show matches. And I remember going in 1990 and seeing him against Earthquake. That was a stretcher match at Arco Arena. I'm sure they ran that match at every place across the country. I remember against Sergeant Slaughter in 1991 in a Desert Storm match. I really remember going to see Hogan versus Goldberg at Nitro in the Georgia Dome in 1998. Um, I remember seeing a tag match probably in 99 on Nitro where it was I want to think it was like Bret Hart, it was Hogan, somebody else. I think they teamed with I know it was a six man, Sting and Luger. It was probably Bret Hart, Goldberg, and Hogan, if I had to remember right. Um, but I remember that. So I only have a few memories of actually seeing Hogan wrestle. When I went to that 1990 match against Earthquake, it was just like every time Hogan was looking and pointing into the crowd, you felt like he was pointing at you and he was looking at you. There was, I don't know, 10, 12,000 other fans in that place at the time, but it didn't really matter. It was like he had that thing in him that like made him connect. 1991, I really remember because I think like 90, 91 is like my sweet spot as a wrestling fan where I was just getting anything and everything that I could. But I fell for that WrestleMania 8 storyline of like Sergeant Slaughter being the Iraqi sympathizer. I didn't really know what that meant. But I knew from like watching the news as a kid and Operation Desert Storm being going on. My stepbrother at the time, I still don't know really. I don't really know him that well, but I knew that like my dad's girlfriend at the time um, was in the Marines and he was over there doing something. And to a 10-year-old kid like going to war, um, it was like you weren't going to come back. I mean, that's the only way to put it. And I felt like Hogan fighting Slaughter was like the war going on in Arco Arena in a ring. And I felt like, if I could have like brought like the little American flag, the good old American boys. What were their names? The two Canadian guys that came out there. The Quebecers? No, not the Quebecers. Quebecers were the dudes who wore the Mountie outfits. Gosh darn it. One would go on to be the freaking Mountie. The other one was an announcer. I can't remember their freaking names, but like if I could have been waving that flag, I would have been waving it out there and just going crazy. I felt like that match meant the world. I don't really remember. I have like that window of like Hogan, like that. I don't really remember seeing him live at things. I guess I don't really remember. Maybe I blocked him out or dropped him or lost him or something like that. Yeah, bam, the Rougeau brothers. If I could have been waving the little American flag, I would have been out there waving it for Hulk Hogan that night because I felt like we were watching more than a wrestling match. Those are probably like two of like my favorite live moments that I can remember. But I mean, like I was proud of Hogan my whole life. I remember SummerSlam 1991. I think it's one of the greatest pay-per-views of all time, all the way through. Mainly because like 1991 is kind of my sweet spot. I used to have that on tape or one that was like one of the first pay-per-views that I ever saw not having to wait for Blockbuster to have it in stock, if you know what I mean. Like somebody recorded it, knew that I was a wrestling fan, was my one of my dad's friends, and just came over and just gave it to me. And I'm thinking, like, this was like 2 days ago. Like, how do you have this? And I watched that tape, I would say probably for 10 years. and it was recorded on 2 tapes to get good quality. People won't understand that. And, like, it had a break during the IRS, Greg the Hammer Valentine, where they had to stop the tape, put another tape in there, and that tape honestly made the world to me, and if I knew who it was, I'd thank them today, because I mean, I honestly watched that for, like, 10 years, but, like, Hogan and Warrior teaming up, that was, like, monumental to me. We didn't watch WrestleMania 6 live. I remember that we turned on I think it was Wrestling Challenge was our like show that came on in syndication. And I remember like being like it was like the Saturday after WrestleMania 6, and like the show started and it was opening of Ultimate Warrior, and it was the one where like he's kind of like standing there and like the mountains are moving on, and there's like lightning coming out of his eyes, and there's um lightning coming out of the sky. I was about to say thunder coming out of the sky like an idiot, but like he's standing there, and I think he's either holding or he's wearing the WWF championship, and I was just like, no way. No, like, no, Hulk Hogan doesn't lose. How is that guy the champion? I was just praying that he turned heel, somebody cheated, something like that. Like that is probably one of my crushing blows from my childhood. Not even seeing the match, having to wait probably 3 months before I rented the tape at Blockbuster to see how it actually went down. Because even in those days, they wouldn't show you on the simulcasted shows because they were hoping that you would order the replay of the pay-per-view. And even telling my dad that um, he lost wasn't enough for them to fire up the money to buy the replay pay-per-view, whatever it was. I don't even remember if it was cheaper because it had already happened, but crazy. Oh, let's go back to Triple H guy. He said I did not answer his question. Never mind, you just answered. Oh, I read it wrong. Maybe it's good that the comments don't come up because I can't even read right. Be the first pay-per-view, me and my dad and my best friend standing up at the top seats waiting for Hulk's entrance at Backlash, feeling like we were children again in the living room. I've told this story 1,000 times. WrestleMania 30. This was the first Hogan shirt that I found. It's very, very tight on me. It's an Under Armour shirt. I bought it off of eBay. I never worn it, but I wanted it at WrestleMania Access. They had these Under Armour shirts and they had CM Punk shirts. And I like that was the only CM Punk shirt that they had at Access. And I was like, dude, if I wore that shirt, I'd work out on it all the time. And I just didn't buy it. And then it just never was up on WWE Shop. I was like, once those go on clearance, I'll get me one. I bought it because I was like, damn, I wanted it. But it was like the most yellowish shirt. That's why I'm wearing it on here now. And then the NWO hat from, I bought it for my WrestleMania 41 trip that I went on in Las Vegas. But when we went to WrestleMania 30, I was very, very lucky. Someone in the UK, I wish I remember who it was. I'm sure if I went through my old tweets, me thanking somebody for the ticket and the pre-sale password, I could find. But I mean, I was able to get one of those premium VIP WrestleMania Access tickets to meet Hulk Hogan. I felt very, very lucky. I had tried for a lot of guys and never got them for WrestleMania because there's just so many fans that come in. But I bought that one. I didn't even buy it like instantaneously. I bought it like the guy was like, oh, here's the password if you want it. And it was like 10 minutes late. And I was like, there's no way in the world. And I was like, just so shocked. I think there's a video of me actually buying it. I think that as I was pressing the buttons, I turned the camera on or something like that. And I was just ecstatic that I was going to finally meet Hogan. And I remember being like, I felt bad that the Hogan signing was at 7 a.m. And I was like, that means Hogan's going to have to get up at 6 a.m, get down to the signing. And I was like, maybe Hulk's going to be in a bad mood and I'm not going to get the true Hulk Hogan thing. And I think Hogan either saw my tweet. I know that Hogan watched my video because he commented on it, and he'd just be like, "Hey, it's my time of the day, brother. We're gonna be rocking and rolling." And there was another time. We'll get to that in a second. But let me just finish this. But I remember like you go to WrestleMania Access, you're guaranteed to meet the person you have a premium VIP for. Everybody else is just kind of like it is what it is. And I remember like I went around and I met the Dolph Zigglers and I met the uh I don't remember who else I met that day, but like you go meet other people, then you get in the Hogan line, and just being on the back of it, and just like you get closer and you get closer, and it's just the emotions are coming to me, and I really felt myself like getting smaller, as in like I felt like I was getting younger, and like just looking up to him. And I remember like as I got on the last rung and I'm like behind the cameraman and there's probably still like 20 to 30 people in front of me a line. I really felt it hit me like, oh shit, I'm about to meet Hulk Hogan. And like I remember like having to like I kind of like clap to myself, like, all right, get it together. We're not gonna be the guy who cries and meets the wrestler. There's a video on YouTube of this one guy just losing it, meeting the Ultimate Warrior. I'm not saying anything negative about him. It's just a video that I remember seeing and it touched me back in the day. But he just could not get it together. And Warrior's trying everything he can do to try to console him. He's hugging the guy. He's patting him on the back. He's saying like, it's all right, man. And it just, when it hits you, man, it hits you. These people, they mean things to people. Like there's going to be, people that are 20 years younger than me that like feel that way for John Cena. They're going to feel that way for Roman Reigns. They're going to feel that way for Cody Rhodes. The kids of today. I mean, those are I think that's why they honestly do it, is like the nostalgia thing. Some people think it's just for like the flex of like posting that picture on Instagram or something like that of like I did this, and it makes somebody else feel jealous that they weren't able to do it. But when I went to WrestleMania 41, it was all about going to WrestleCon. That was one of the main reasons why I went, to just meet guys, because moments like this kept happening. And, like when Scott Hall passed away, that was like, I never got a chance to meet Scott Hall. I never got a picture with the dude. I never told them that I'm like not that big when I meet these guys. Like I get kind of clammed up. I don't know what to say. I don't want to say something stupid. So I kind of just don't really say anything at all. But, when I went up and I met Hogan, I just was looking at him. He just was like big. This was 11 years ago. And he said something. And this video is literally, it's like 18 seconds long. But in my mind, I had like an hour with this dude. But I remember like I walked up to him, he said something, and he shook out his hand and I hugged him. And then I said something stupid to him about seeing him wrestle at Arco Arena in Sacramento, California. And he did what he did. He signed my picture. He gave me that second of small talk, and then like he stuck out his hand to like shake it, to say like thank you for being there. That was my cue to go. And I just remember I just looked at him and I just hugged him again. And the funny part about it to me is like as I walked up the stage, I realized that like Hogan tried to shake my hand and I didn't shake his hand, and I didn't want to be like disrespectful. And I ran back and I shook his hand, and I just said, I realized I didn't shake your hand. I wanted to be respectful. I straight cut off two people that were having a moment with Hulk Hogan. And I think he was even like, what the hell was that? But I got out of there. I had to like put my poster down and try to fold it up and put it into the roll. A poster that I would never even get a chance to frame because for some reason my dog ate it. That dog right there. God honest truth. It hurt me today that I threw it away in the trash, but I was like, you're never going to frame this poster that is all eaten up. So, I've got a cool Rob, what's his name? I can't remember his name. The guy who used to paint the pictures for WB, and now he does it for Pro Wrestling Tees and AEW. I have one that's done by him that's signed. I bought that It was just one of those things you buy on a whim, and you're like, I don't even know what I'm going to do with this. It's about the size of like an 8x10, but it's someday put it up on the wall. One of the cool things is like I went to a card show on Saturday, and I wasn't like in love with this card. I didn't have to have it. I've got a bunch of other Hulk Hogan cards. I've got, I think in the stack here, I'm going to go over in a minute. I've got 3 other Hogan 1985 tops, card number 1s. I've got them graded. They're ready to go. This was just sitting in the case, and it was just one of those things talking to me, saying like, you got to have this. He wanted 35 bucks for it, as you can see. I didn't want to give him 35 bucks. I don't even know what a raw one of these goes for. And I pushed him down to 30 bucks. It was like kind of one of those things where it doesn't matter to me if I don't leave with it, but it's in a one touch. I felt like it was my card of the day that day. You'd see it in my video I made from there. I'm looking at it here in the one touch. The corners aren't horrible. They're not the best. This one's got a little bit of like cardboard come off it. And the thing about these more than anything else is the cardstock, the actual cardboard that they use. That's what's the hardest thing for these guys to get graded, but it doesn't look bad. But the same thing you wonder about when you buy raw cards, especially older ones, is like, why didn't they grade it? And you got to wonder if like it's trimmed or these could even be reproductions or anything like that. But that was the last Hulk Hogan card that I purchased. Since then, I went and I tried to buy a Panini. I think it was called Phonographic is the name of the sets. Pretty nice cards, really nice pictures. I saw the Hogan one for the first time, and just a really cool picture. It's long ways. It's him like ripping his shirt off. Looks like it's taken at some sort of a house show. That one's really cool. We'll skip these ones and we'll come back to them. These aren't in any order, but I did find them in my wrestling box. It's all Hulk Hogan cards, all in order. This one right here, cool memories, red, white, and blue outsides. This is 1987 tops, otherwise known as the WrestleMania 3 set. I'm pretty sure I'm not the biggest guy on wrestling cards, although I do find myself buying them more than anything else. I think there's like 100 picture cards of like the guys by themselves, and then it just turns into like, this is what happened at WrestleMania 3. I don't think it's 2 different series. I think it's like how you got them in the packs, but I'm not 100% sure. There's that. I just said I was going to skip these, but see, like here, this is card 3, and then it turns into, this is card 35. This is American made. This is the picture that I was trying to find to use as the picture for the stream right here that we're on. It's called Ringside Action, but this picture I think is only taken up and down. It's not taken this way like you would for most thumbnails. That's a cool card. Here's the cards that a lot of people remember. They're very, very common these days, but they're kind of like going up in price, I think, because of condition of them. A lot of people these days, they bought these packs for like $1, if even that, and just beat the hell out of them up. They're in shoe boxes or things like that in their room, and they just didn't take care of them. But this is 1990 classic. This is card 125. Nothing spectacular. This is a PSA 8. When I kind of got into cards, I was buying a lot of 8s. And now I don't buy any 8s anymore. I just kind of buy 9s to 10s. I buy more 9s and 10s just because of the price, honestly. But here is 1991 classic. Hogan with the American flag draped over him. It's a PSA 8. Here is a cool card. This is a promo from WCW featuring the NWO, and they were announcing these cards coming out to try and draw interest from 1998 Hollywood Hulk Hogan. I would love to get more WCW cards, but I don't know if it was just how many they produced or if people just don't collect them to sell them. They're just not out there. You just don't see the WCW ones that much out there. Here is a 1990 classic. You can tell I really need to rearrange these. Hulkamania, PSA 9. We got a card from Japan. These here, as you can see, like all the writing on the back is all in Japanese. I don't know why I don't have the, because it's not in the right size bag for it. But these are called Bandai, New Japan Pro Wrestling, when the NWO would go over there. This is 1991 Merlin, German card. Hogan there with his hands up. Here's another one. PSA 8. This is him without the belt, just kind of pointing the finger, saying, hey, me and you, it's going down. We have from Coliseum Video. I don't know if these like came out of the magazine or if these were actually in the boxes with the tapes. But here we have Hogan versus Macho Man. You can say it's perforated like the Sports Illustrated for Kids cards back in the day. For WrestleMania 5, that's a PSA 7. We're going back to 87 tops. This is Listening to Hulkamania. This is a PSA 7. I don't know why I bought that, honestly. I think it might have been when I was really getting into cards and not really knowing what I was doing. Here's another American Made. This is a PSA 7. We got a Challenge Answered. 87 tops, PSA 7. Tops Allen and Ginter. This is a really, really small card of Hulk Hogan. I don't even think this came out of a WrestleMania set. I think like Allen Ginter is like a baseball card set. They also feature like pop icons and things like that. PSA 6. 85 tops. This is the rookie set, but this is the insert, I guess you can say, the stickers that would come out of the packs. That's a PSA 7. Okay. Here we're getting, let's save those. We're just saving the 85s. Here's another 87. You can tell I love that card. That here is a PSA 8. We have another PSA 8. Here's the 98. I apologize. 1998 sticker of Hulk Hogan. PSA 8. We've got a 2022 Prism. PSA 9. Here's some the cards that aren't slab, but it's part of my collection. I saw that they brought back Action Packed. I don't even remember what set this was in from Panini. I'm glad that they made these before they ended up leaving Panini, because I was a mark for these cards. They remind me a lot of the set that like has Owen Hart's rookie. It has Diesel's rookie. They were cool cards. They were hard to find. I remember that they were like $2 a pack, and that was kind of like pushing it back in the day. But like I said, this is a 24. I want to say 2024 Panini. We got a Timeless Treasures. I bought this mostly because it's him featuring him as the NWO Elite. Right there as the leader of the Wolf Pack. This would have been after the Finger Poke of Doom, when he had the title spray painted with the red spray paint, when he was I don't know if you remember the Wolf Pack, but it was like half the black and white coming back together with the red and black. Here's the Hulkster Explodes. I'm kind of surprised I have so many PSA 7s, honestly. I don't know if it's because those cards are hard to grade because of those card stocks. Here we have a PSA 9 of WrestleMania 3. Perforated card, a lot like the WrestleMania 5. These are dated 1993. Like I said, I don't know if these came out of a VHS tape. I don't know if these came out of a magazine. I don't really know anything about those. Back to the 1991 Hogan's. This, of course, has Undertaker's rookie. This is a PSA 8. We've got a 90 Classic PSA 8. Here's 90 as a 9. Here he is, a different card at a 90 Classic. That's a PSA 9. Oh, here we go. All right, we're into this. This card was really cool when I saw it for the first time. This is from 1985 Topps Cyndi Lauper set. Cyndi Lauper, of course, she came into WWF. Big part of the rock and wrestling, the war to settle the score. I think that's the pay-per-view that she's actually on. That was an MTV special that I called the pay-per-view. But there's her Cyndi Lauper with Randy Richter and Hulk Hogan. His name's not on the card. It's on the back. No, it's not even on the back. There's no mention of Hulk Hogan. I don't know if that's because like trademarks or something like that, but I wish his name was on the card. It says on the back, when Cyndi was 5 years old, her parents were divorced. She has a younger brother, Butch, and an older sister, Ellen. I get having the kids' names on there, but why have to throw in like parents got divorced? But, here we are, 1985 Topps Hulk Hogan sticker. It's him in Washington, D.C. Pretty cool card of Hulk on the street. PSA 8. Here we are with the 1985 Topps. I'm going to use this for 1 minute, and I'll teach you something in these cards. These cards look the same. Doesn't take much to tell the difference between them. This one has a yellow background. You can either think this is blue, you can think this is green, you can think it's purple, but it's two different cards. Both say Hulk Hogan on the front. One is card number 1, one is card number 16. One is looked at as his rookie card, one is just looked at as another card. They both have value. For some reason, this one, because it's number 1 and it actually has like stats on the back, it is looked at as, oh, son of a gun. Freaking Walmart canceled my John Cena figure. All right. What do you know? And they're like, as on the same day that they're pushing out new pre-orders for you to give your money to Walmart. Doesn't make any sense. They canceled both of them. I know they canceled I think it was a Cena, 2 different Cena figures. Doesn't make any sense. There was the one that was supposed to come out at WrestleMania at the store, and then the clear one that is out on shelves right now, hopefully. But both cards the same you'd look, but they have different backs. One says that he's the champion. The other one just has normal stats. You see both these cards, you want to have either one, but you honestly want to have number 1 more than anything else. This is looked at as this true rookie card. This is almost looked at as like a subset or an insert that isn't as big. But we are moving up the chain with the Hogans. Might be a little bit harder now. They might be going up, but we have a Hogan and a 5. We have a Hogan and a 6. We got a Hogan and a 7. How I got my first one of these back in the day was I didn't notice on eBay that there was 2 different cards. I didn't even notice that there was 2 different numbers on the cards, and they were different. That's how I ended up getting them, and had to figure out on my own what was what. But we have a PSA 7. We got another PSA 7. And then we have a PSA 8. So how you start your collections, however you start them, but you can, start with lower number cards and then just like move up the grades as they get more expensive or things like that. But I thought I had one of these graded, but I didn't see it. I hope I didn't skip by it. This is a Little Caesars Hollywood Hulk Hogan card. It's got not holographic, but it's like Sport Flicks back in the day. It moves, it changes. Pretty dang cool, man. Really fast. I bought these from a lot grab from this one guy selling wrestling cards. All those 87s. We got Hogan and Andre. We got Hogan. We got American Made. We got Hogan standing there as the champ. That belt looks really, really cool back in the day. There's him got the win. Thank you, the Lord. Here's here. We got Hogan versus Andre, the challenge for WrestleMania 3. Hogan with the belt again. American made. America made. Hogan. Hogan with the belt. American made. And there he is standing tall. No, that's him and still champion. So that's after the Hogan versus Andre deal. But that is my Hulk Hogan card collection as it is. But I got a lot of figures of Hulk. I mean, this last year has been it was the year before. It was the 40th year of Hulkamania in WWE. And they really ran wild over Mattel. They came out with a 3-pack that I can't grab because it's behind my Tower of Doom of boxes. That one was really, really cool. I was really surprised they haven't come out with a Knuckle Cruncher yet. But the problem with Knuckle Crunchers is they come out with 4 at a time, and they haven't come out with like a legacy set yet. They really just keep pumping out Roman, Cena, Cody, and then like they just kind of add like a Jey Uso. They had Jimmy Uso. There's boom, boom, boom. There's Rollins. Rollins has got 2. Rollins is a single one, and Rollins has a one that came with the ring when they reproduced it because Brock wasn't there anymore. But I really wish they would do like a legend set. They've got Austin. Austin might be the only legend that they came with, but a Hogan one would have been awesome. The problem is, like, even the 2 belts that I got is like when I took everything down, I gotta get rid of these pops. They gotta go. I mean, that's just the way it is. But I don't think there's any real demand on the pops anymore. I think people have just gotten out. When I go to Target now, like the pops just like overload the pops area. Like nobody is buying these. I don't know, guys. I mean, we've been talking about Hulk for an hour. I can go on and on about like the cool stuff that Hogan did. I came into Hogan, watch my cousins were watching a tape of WrestleMania 3. My memories that day were honestly more about Nikolai Volkov and Iron Sheik and the Killer Bees. I don't really remember watching Hogan versus Andre, but I do know that is the day that I was like, I like wrestling. Wrestling is cool. I want to watch a lot of wrestling. Um, I think I just started like watching and just picking up, and because Hogan was the biggest star, I figured that he was the Babe Ruth of wrestling. He was the best to ever do it. I knew that I had other favorite guys, I had other favorite teams, but nobody was bigger than Hogan because he was kind of the main event, the champion. You believe that meant something. Um, Back in the day. But going to Blockbuster, I this isn't the best story in the world, but like I remember like my dad would go to like the bar, and sometimes he would just go in to like meet a guy or something like that. So sometimes if he knew it was going to be a little bit, he would go, and he would like give me money, and I would either go to Jasper's and get a hamburger. I would go to the yogurt shop, or I would just like play video games at either one of those places where they were. But if it was a quick stop and he was like, I'll just be a minute and I'll be right back, I would go to the back of Blockbuster, and there would be a window. The window just happened to be right where the wrestling tapes were. And I was looking right at the wrestling section. I remember a lot, like growing up, seeing the NWA tapes and being like, I know a few of those guys because they've crossed over. Like, who, somehow you just know who Sting is. You know who the Road Warriors are. Lex Luger. But like you look at some of the other guys and you're like, I don't really know who those guys are. So I'm not going to get those tapes. I was a real big WWF guy. That's just the God's honest truth of how it was. I would learn who those guys were when they would come over, like when Tully would come and Arn would come, and they would do their run. You kind of learn who they were and find out who they came from. The magazines that weren't WWF magazines or WCW magazines, the ones that were like After Mags, with Bill Apter, that's kind of like where you filled in the gaps about like who guys were, and that's where like, you see Great Muta for the first time, and you're like, oh shoot, that guy would mess some stuff up, man. But I don't know. You just put anybody in that ring against Hulk Hogan, and I think they're gonna beat him. I just think that he was like the coolest dude in the world. Um, 1990, 1991. I watched Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I did stuff like that. I watched the Power Rangers, but nothing was ever bigger than professional wrestling. Nothing was ever bigger than Hulk Hogan to me. I really honestly wish that he would have got the movie career that I thought he was going to get. I remember going to the drive-ins to see some movie. I don't even remember what it was. And like at a point, like my dad took me to the bathroom because I was a kid and I had to go, couldn't make it through a whole movie. And I remember like as we were going to where the bathrooms were at the drive-ins, I just see Hulk Hogan on the big screen on the other screen that was at the place, and it was no holds barred, and just being like, I want to see that. Like I don't care what we're seeing anymore. I want to see that. And then my dad being like, hey, we gotta focus on what we're doing and we'll go see that. I don't remember when I saw No Holds Barred for the first time, but we didn't definitely go to the movies. I probably saw it for the first time on the No Holds Barred, the match in the movie, the pay-per-view, where it was probably like 10 or 12 bucks. You got No Holds Barred on pay-per-view, and as soon as it was over, you got the match. And it was Hogan and Brutus Beefcake. I think it was against it might have been against Macho Man and Zeus. Maybe it was DiBiase and Zeus. I don't really, really remember. I saw the match when they put up a lot of the Coliseum videos on the network a few years ago. It happened to be on one of the first ones that I watched. I don't really remember it off the top of my head, but the first time you saw Zeus was like on a Saturday night's main event. It was before a steel cage match. It was going to be Hogan versus Boss Man. And I don't even know how we got there. Like Hogan's coming to the ring and Zeus just appears on the ring steps, and he's already taller than Hulk, but now he's 2 feet taller because he's on the steps and he's just looking down at Hogan, and Hogan's looking up at him, and he just like bam, like double punches him right like here, and he just like put Hogan down, and it was like, this is the biggest dude I've ever seen. Like this is gonna be bad. And somehow I don't really remember, they got Zeus off of him, but then Hogan went in and still fought the Boss Man in a great steel cage match on Saturday night's main event. And that's what got the ball rolling towards SummerSlam. Um, and what did Zeus do after that? I think Zeus kind of they had plans to have him. I can't remember if he was. I think he was in Survivor Series, but he wasn't on the same team because they needed him to be strong for the match in the movie, which would be Christmas time. And there's rumors out there that WrestleMania 6 wasn't even supposed to be Hogan versus Warrior. They thought it was going to be Hogan versus Zeus, the ultimate challenge there to finally blow that off. As you know, Tiny Lister, he didn't wrestle again until WCW brought him in for the we want to end Hulkamania match where it was like 16 dudes against Savage and Hogan. The Ultimate Solution was in there, the big bodybuilder guy. I think he was in the Over the Top arm wrestling movie as well. But I watched that last summer, when I was at my mom's house. I was just doing like wrestling videos on stupid things that I remembered. And I think for some reason I wanted to watch the WCW Uncensored from back in the day. I can't remember if that was on that show or not, but I do remember I watched that match and they brought those dudes back, but you didn't see them wrestle. Zeus did that shoot interview that I've still never seen and still surprised that no clips pop up on YouTube. My buddy Miguel got it and said it was horrible and he would send it to me years ago. And it's secretly one of those things that I really want to see. The art of like shoot interviews. I remember at one point, like you would go to RF video. It is what it is. Like, with that, like, I'm not going to say that, Rob Feinstein's like a great guy. We all know what happened. But like he was the place to go for shoot interviews, like years and years and years before podcasts ever came out. And podcasts killed what, if you like you see all the clips that come out in the day, like you used to have to buy a tape of a guy interviewing the wrestlers when like their career was most of the time done. Somehow, like in the dying days of WCW, they just straight got WCW guys to do shoot interviews, and it must have been like who cares? Like, what are they gonna do? No, nobody's running that ship in order to fire me. Because I remember that's like when we got the Ray interview, we got a Conan interview. I think we got Eddie Guerrero. Eddie Guerrero, now that I think about it, might have been after he got fired from WWE the first time. So it might have been a little bit later, but I definitely remember like Ray and Conan came out when WCW was still running. But you would go there and check out what tapes were up, and kind of did the same thing that we do with WWE Shop, where you like kind of like, I want this, but like there would be a news feature, and I remember them like putting up news that they were going to Florida, and they were doing what was the biggest shoot interview that they could ever do. And I really thought that they were going to pull Hogan in for an interview. Hogan, it never happened. It never came to be. And I saw Rob at WrestleMania 41. It's kind of one of those things where you like say hi and bye and you see him in passing. But like, I really wish I would have like asked him how close, because now if I was to ask him, he'd be like, "Oh yeah, yeah, yeah," and he'd like tell the story and like blah blah blah. He's a big bullshitter. Um, but I really wonder if that's who it was and if that's really really close. Because in my mind, I remember telling myself that's Hogan. That's got to be Hogan. Hogan did interviews. He would go on like podcasts for normally other wrestlers that were as big as him and give fluffy interviews about this, that, and the other. And we all know how he told a whale of a tale is probably the best way to say it. Where he never had a bad story, and he wouldn't let a lie stand in the way of telling a good story. But the Metallica story is probably like one of the biggest ones, and he's got other ones that like not knowing if like Andre the Giant was gonna let him beat him at WrestleMania 3. He thought that it was honestly gonna be a shoot out there in the ring or something like that. But I don't know, man. I honestly I I feel different now that I've gotten this kind of stuff off my chest. Talked about my Hogan wrestling collection. It still is a weird day that I'm gonna probably remember for a long time. I don't think I'm really like hamming it up or anything like that, but I really enjoy all of the how do I say this? I really enjoyed all of the outpouring from past YouTubers, wrestling fans, wrestlers. I honestly was one of the first things I thought was like, I don't think people were gonna let Hogan have his day, I guess you can say. But it was kind of one of these things where I would think I was like either scrolling like the Instagram videos or the YouTube videos that pop up of like the clips, and somebody had clipped Bubba the Love Sponge's story, and They clipped his radio show, and he was talking about Hulk, and Hulk had been sent home, and he has a problem with his trachea. It didn't say that he was on his dying days. He had said that earlier, and the Hogan camp kind of came out and said that that wasn't true. And so maybe he didn't want to like push the story that far. He just wanted people to know that he knew. And I knew they sent him home. I didn't know it was going to be like that, like it was going to end that fast. But in the last 2 days, I've been kind of telling myself like maybe I should make like a video about Hogan, saying like get well soon or something like that, and like brace myself for what's coming. I know that I made a Ric Flair video. I was working in Placerville, so that was probably 2017. I made like a Ric Flair video where I got on his thought he was dying, and people can remember that. Um, if we live in a sick world and you're like placing bets, like Ric Flair will probably live forever, but he might be the next one. I mean, you think, I mean, we've lost Terry Funk, we've lost Dusty Rhodes, Roddy Piper. I'm not saying recently, I'm just saying, like, I remember Macho Man Randy Savage was the first video I ever made for like a rest in peace video of like talking about that. And like Scott Hall might have been like the biggest one that really got me. That was like, damn, like, wow. Like, as you get older, like you might not understand it if you're somebody who's like 20, even maybe somebody's like 30. But I think I'm somewhere in my 40s. I think I'm 43, turning 44 here next month. Like when people pass away, it doesn't even really matter how close you are to them. You kind of like think like this could really be over tomorrow. Like when you're in your 20s, you really think like you're gonna live forever and you're guaranteed 80 more years. You get into your 40s and like you feel something in your body. You're like, what is that? That's not good. Like that's the only way to put it, man. And it's just like it comes for everybody. And like you wonder like what the heck you're doing in this world. I mean, Hulk was awesome, man. He really, really was. And I got a chance to meet him twice. I met him once at WrestleMania 30. I have a friend Victor who got me to meet him after at the WrestleMania 31 pre-show. Victor knows a lot of things. I don't know how Victor knows a lot of things. Um, Smart guy. And I told him, like, I don't want to know what you know because people ask me and I don't want to lie to them. But basically told me to stand here, and Hulk Hogan was there like 2 minutes later. Like he owed Victor a favor or something like that. And it was one of the best days of my life. I remember I'll never forget like the guy, like it was like the videos you see of TMZ of like Hogan at the airport or any star at the airport where like people are just like gung ho to meet him. Like I remember this one guy kept handing Hulk Hogan baseballs. It makes no sense. I see a lot of wrestlers. I see a lot of celebrities autographs on baseballs, and some people say it's because of like the really like um cool place for them to sign on the sweet spot. But like a Kevin Costner baseball, I'll understand. But like a Hulk Hogan autograph baseball makes no sense to me. Even when like TNA was doing the what they called base brawls, where they would do like the house shows at like baseball stadiums. Um, a Sting baseball bat, I understand. A Hulk Hogan baseball bat, I don't understand at all. But like I remember like people kept handing Hulk Hogan baseballs, and he's like, I ain't signing no more baseballs, brah. I could probably tweet that to Vic right now, and I bet you he would laugh. I bet you it would make his day better. I'm probably gonna do that as soon as I'm done. But he was really, really cool both times. I remember like you don't really want to like how do I want to say this? You don't want to like weigh them down when they're at, like, the airport, but, like, it was almost like he knew the deal, and he had been famous forever, and, it just was a part of his day, and I think he knew that if he was nice to us, we'd be nice to him, and we wouldn't, like, you know, hug his day or anything like that. He and Jimmy, they walked in, they rolled up to the sign that said "When planes leave," and I think he probably looked at the Orlando or the Tampa flight and was like, "Okay," and he, like, turned around and he's like, "Hey, I got some time to kill. Who wants some pictures?" He straight up said that, and, took some pictures. I think I knew that I was gonna meet Hulk Hogan that day. I mean, like, now, like, I'm petrified of myself. I had a Hulk Hogan classic, figure for him to sign, and he signed it. I don't even know I don't even know why I had that. I know that I know why, but I still don't know why, but he signed it for me, and, it's not, like, up, but it's, like, one of my possessions that I, like, know I have, and is, like, one of my favorite things. But, he was really, really cool to me both times I met him. Um, I mean, when I think of Hulk, I don't even really think of him as, like, a wrestling character. I think of him more of, like, as a cartoon, because there's, like, no real way to, like, I know, like, when I was going through my phase of, like, 2016, I was going to the gym every day, I was working out. I honestly didn't get much bigger than I am today, like, I got no guns. I got no 24-inch pythons. The one picture I have with me and Buff Bagwell, and I'm doing like the buff is the stuff pose. That's probably the best my arms have ever looked in my life. But like when you start going, you really think you're gonna start looking like what Hulk Hogan looked like. And it never really happens. I know that he got a lot of crap for the Arsenio Hall thing. If I'm in his same place, I completely understand. Like, I try to be a very honest person. I try to tell my kids that I don't lie about things. I know deep down, like, if it like comes down to like me having to lie about my job, to, like keep my job, I'm gonna do it because I gotta keep working. I've been doing my job for too damn long. But like I think I'm a very honest person when it comes to like people in my family and things like that. I probably tell my kids things that I probably shouldn't tell them because if they ask the question, they want to know the answer and I don't want them to find out like some other way or something like that. But I mean, say your prayers, take your vitamins. I took the Hogan vitamins. I can honestly say that however many came in one bottle, I got one bottle for Christmas one year. My grandma probably gave it to me. I took them. They probably didn't do anything more for me in my life than the vitamins I take today. That sometimes I look at them and wonder why I even take them and what they even do for me. If I would be anything else. And if I wonder if because most of the time when I put my pills in my pocket to take them to work, I take them with a monster, and I wonder if the monster cancels out what the vitamins are doing, if they're even doing anything at all. But I don't know how to put it, man. Like I don't know how to put it. Like I don't have like one moment of like Hulk Hogan. I know like when I put the VHS in of like WrestleMania, I'm sorry, of like the Royal Rumble of like 1990 or 1991. I don't like I know that like Hogan's gonna win. I think it's like cool, like all the legends that are like stacked on that card. And I wonder what it would have been like to like sit down and watch that pay-per-view live. I remember I went to my buddy Tommy's house. He lived close. He lived across the park and like down the street. And he was a little bit younger than me. Um, I honestly think I met him because my dad dated his mom for a hot minute. But he was a cool kid, but they had like a big screen TV, like 1980s style, where like it was a projection style where the screen was like I don't know. It's probably way bigger than I remember. It was probably like a 32-inch screen at the time, but it had like the big lights at the bottom. There was a red one, there was a blue one, there was a green one, and that's what shot the picture up onto the screen and made it so big. But his parents bought them the Coliseum home videotapes. And I remember like in 1990, 1991, those tapes weren't freaking cheap. They weren't pumping out the $20 tapes. It was like if you wanted to buy like the Royal Rumble 1990, that thing was like $80. At least that's the way I remember it. I remember them being like freaking expensive. But like I wonder what it was like watching those live and like seeing like the Bushwhacker Butch come down or like the Barbarian or the Warlord. Because the way that WWF booked back in the day isn't like how we watch wrestling now. Like I remember like looking at like one of the programs, and they would have like a picture of all the wrestlers on the one page, and it said like WWF superstars. And I remember like trying to book like my own like random card back in the day, and they really booked it like anybody on any given night could beat Hulk Hogan for the championship. All of those guys seemed like they were there for a reason. It's kind of like when you watch sports and you like take the second baseman of your team for granted, thinking like this guy hasn't got a hit in a week. Like this guy sucks. We need a new second baseman. And you don't really think about it. Like in order to make the major leagues, that dude was probably the best guy in his whole entire little league. He probably was the best guy on his high school team. And like he like was the stud. And now he's like hitting eighth, playing second base, and he sucks. But that dude's probably way better than you'll ever be. But I don't know. I mean, like it definitely really was, and I wish it was like watching wrestling back in the day. But Hogan was my dude, man. There's no other way to say that. I really appreciate everybody out there pouring everything out and just giving praise to the Hulkster. And I think I've said it in a few times, but like, is there somebody between? I guess in between Hulk and Cena would have to be Austin and Rock. It would probably like you pass the baton down the line. There's like you go from Hulk, you probably say Austin, and then you go to Cena, and then from Cena you go to Roman. From Roman you go to Cody. And I wonder who the next guy's gonna be. It really could be anybody. It could be somebody on that LFG show. It could be somebody on Evolve. It could be somebody in NXT. You just wonder who like the next big star is gonna be. Is it really gonna be Braun Breaker? I think we've all seen a lot of Braun Breakers come and go throughout their time. But we're gonna call it a day and see what else is out there, and hopefully have a better day. I know that tomorrow is not going to be tough, but like the memory of Hulk Hogan is not going to go away. I don't think it's going to be something that, like when I think about my grandma sometimes honestly I forget my grandma died. Like that sucks to say, but I'm just telling you the God's honest truth. And then like it hits me all at once, like, oh shoot, my grandma's dead. Like I don't think it's gonna be like that. But I hope it's not lingering like Scott Hall is, that I think about it like every time I watch wrestling. But then again, like Hulk Hogan is the biggest star to ever be in wrestling. And I wonder what they're gonna do. I mean, you think about like I think they're gonna push through. I mean, you saw them tweet about it. You saw Triple H tweet about it. You saw just about every big star that's ever been in WWE did whatever. But like tomorrow, are they gonna give like a big thing for him on SmackDown? Part of me says it's not gonna be as big as I think because of the reaction that he got at Raw. And I really wish they would have. I mean, like, whoever owns Real American Beer, and honestly, we'll get to that real fast. Jeremy, thank you very, very much for buying that Real American Beer, buying that round when we were at, I was going to call it Access, but at the World. The world really had it set up. They had those C4s, they had Real American Beer, they had Stone Cold Steve Austin IPA, they had whatever those uh, I was gonna call them girly drinks, but whatever those other ones that were sponsored by WWE that had their name on there, they had everything set up for a bar at the World that you could want. I mean, I'll probably never see those Real American beers again. Not that I don't think they're gonna keep having Hulk Hogan on them. I just don't think that company is ever gonna come this far out. I know they get garage beer. That's one that I've been looking for. I recently see it at Walmart. It's not like they have a really big spot there. The Stone Cold Steve Austin beer I used to see all the time from El Segundo. We don't sell it at my work anymore. So I think that that beer just isn't the flavor of the month. I used to actually build a display myself on my meat counter of the Stone Cold Steve Austin IPAs until the day that I offered them. I wasn't giving it to him, but I was telling this guy to buy them. And then he like casually told me he was only 19. And I was like, I might get in trouble doing this. So maybe I shouldn't be telling everybody about the Stone Cold Steve Austin stuff. But at the time, I wore a Stone Cold Steve Austin hat at work. And everybody that said they liked it, I was like, hey, but we got their beer over here. And I was just trying to push it, just trying to make some sales. And yeah, then that day I tried to sell it to a 19-year-old. But I don't know. Thank you, Jeremy, for the beer that day. That was the one time I got to try it. It wasn't the best beer I ever had. I'm not the biggest beer guy. It honestly tasted a lot like Miller Lite, like kind of like they just poured a Miller Lite into that can. But that's what I was looking for when we went to Vegas, was to try one of those, and I was surprised that they honestly had it. Um, but yeah, got to try the Real American beer. I wonder what they're gonna do on SmackDown now that I think about it. I don't think it's gonna be like a 5 to 10 minute ordeal. I think it'll be more than just putting his face up on the screen saying like rest in peace, Terry Bollea, Hulk Hogan 2025, like they do for some guys. I mean, they gotta have a video. But the way they treated him at Netflix, the Netflix debut, they just booed the crap out of him. Like, are people gonna be over it and just like, I'm changing the channel because I don't want to see Hulk Hogan on the screen? I don't know how it's gonna go. They would have been smart if they brought him back with whoever a mid card heel was that they needed to get booed at the time. Would people have cheered because they knew what they were doing? But if they would have done that, it would have been freaking smart. I can't really think of like who a mid card person that they wanted to get over as the heel is at the time. That it just wasn't working. But like I said, we're gonna kick out for the day. I appreciate everybody that hung around. There's no way in the world that I thought we were gonna go an hour and 30 minutes. But Hogan, man, Hogan. That's all I can say. Peace out, guys. Thank you very, very much.